Today I have horrific topic to discuss with you, and I did a video yesterday about Chihuahua ingesting the weed in the park, and I talked a little bit about management versus using aversives, but I mentioned another post that literally shook me when I read it. And Chihuahua from the yesterday video survived. The owner was able to rush her to the vet and they detox her and she's fine now. However, this is not the case with Maggie May. This is a Facebook post, a real one, and I've screenshotted it a little bit some time ago. And we're gonna talk about today about what happened because the dog died, and if this could have been prevented, right? And I think it's a very important topic that is not discussed, it's not talked about, and there is a lot of hate with using aversives, but this is the alternative a lot of times to aversives. And I want to talk about this really serious, probably in depth. Today my laptop is not running low on charge. I have a charger with me today, so let's dive into it. So the post is such, I blurred the names for the privacy because this is a private Facebook group. Today I lost my Maggie May to an accidental drug intake. They are so smart. She jumped on a recliner, stood on a table, and reached over to get my husband's medication. So smart. And my heart is broken. I get upset about this post. And I'll tell you why in a second, but let me show you what people commenting to this person, right? And so in case if this is not clear, but I think it's pretty clear picture. The dog jumped up while the owner was not there, got the medication, ate the medication, overdosed on medication, died. And I don't have that comment screenshotted, but basically when the owner came home, the dog was already dead. Okay? So what people commenting to her? And I'm gonna resize this comment. These pups are so curious and want to get into everything. It's a constant battle to keep them from harm. I'm so very sorry for your loss. And I'm sorry as well, and this is very sad. What is this person saying is that actually is not a bad thing. It's a constant battle to keep them from harm, but it is what way you choose to fight that battle. Remember, we brought a dog into our home, into human world, which has nothing to do with what the dog's supposed to be doing. I hope you understand that. So they are in our environment. This is not the environment they're supposed to be in. So we, as responsible human beings, need to take care of that dog that we brought in our house. Everybody can choose different ways to do so. Most of the people who just bring the dog home, they choose to do management style, right? What is management style? I touched a little bit on it and I'm gonna quickly go over it. Managing is meaning doing no aversives. You're just basically making sure that you watch your dog 24/7 and hope that they don't ingest something or eat something or do something that's gonna harm them. And this way you just going to basically always keep an eye on them, and hopefully you can always keep an eye on them. You don't have job, you don't have other things that you need to attend like kids and I don't know, husband, and you just can dedicate your whole life for the next 2 years from getting a puppy to making sure that the dog is safe. There are other ways of doing that, like crating the dog, but still you're managing, right? So you are responsible for them not eating something. So however, is this dog a puppy? It's not. And we're still gonna go over it. The next comment I want to show you. I'm so sorry, they are so fast and accidents happens no matter how careful we are. And this is the comment that I strongly disagree with, because this is not true. And I am going to now show you what the reality is. This is not true that we can't do anything. We can do a lot of things if you're willing to do these things and if you feel comfortable doing those things, right? But most people don't even know that they can be doing these things. And so, just like I said, how, right? So there is a danger, whatever that is, right? It's, how do I do this? Okay. Pills, I don't know, grapes. I'm just putting something up here that is sort of dangerous. Chocolate, whatever, right? And then, so what can we do? Multiple things. Actually, 3 things, really. Number 1 that I just touched, it's management, which meaning observing your dog 24/7. And I'm going to put an I here and put 24/7. What is the problem with that? Well, you are not always present. You sometimes you are present, but they still on the walk, they still will sneak something in, even if you're watching, because they're freaking fast and you're not even in time to open their mouth and take it off. And they will still ingest it, and you will have to rush to the vet, and hopefully the vet gonna do something. But not always vet is available, and so on and so forth. So this doesn't always work, because this is real life. Okay, next option is leash. Oops. What does that mean? Leash means, as far as your dog is on the leash and you have leave it command charged with balance training, which would mean pop on the leash. That here we're already coming to aversives. What is aversive? Aversive is whatever the dog feels uncomfortable enough to decrease the likelihood of behavior to repeat itself, right? So aversives can be physical, emotional, they can be environmental. It's anything that the dog finds uncomfortable. But in dog training, usually those are physical aversives that we are using. And so in case of the leash, you will have the dog on the leash on a prong collar, on a flat martingale collar, and you will deliver a pop on a prong with leave it command, right? And I'm not teaching you how to do this, I'm just educating you what can be done so your dog will not die like Maggie May. So, so that would be leave it command, right? And as far as the dog is on the leash, if trained properly, after some aversives, then you just say leave it and the dog backs off. So you see something that they're not supposed to eat, like grapes, chocolate, pills, whatever, you say leave it and the dog backs off. Great. And not that bad, right? Couple of pops on the prong, the dog learns leave it. Yeah, but the dog is not always on the leash. In fact, at our apartment or house, the dog is off leash. And so we cannot prevent them from eating it. You will say, well, if your training is so well and the leave it command is charged, then why can't I use it without the leash? Because you just said that if you say leave it, now since he's trained, he will back off. Well, he will back off a couple of times till he will figure out, and the dogs are really smart, that as far as you're present in the picture, he will actually not just learn leave it, he will also learn, oh, I only get leave it when I pick up something from the ground. So I probably shouldn't be picking up anything from the ground as far as this person who is saying leave it is around. And so basically now your dog is learning that as far as you're in the picture, they're not going to pick up anything from the floor. That will be the result of properly trained leave it command. Good. And then we're coming back to your question, well, why can't I use it then off leash? It's because then the dog will figure out, number one, as far as the leash is off me, the dog, then I don't have to listen. Because you say leave it, if you say leave it, that also means that you always have to be ready to make sure that this command is followed through. Meaning, if you say leave it and the dog doesn't do it, you deliver again a pop on the leash. Because if you didn't and the dog still did what it wanted and ate pill, grapes and chocolate, because it's not 100%, the dog is not a robot, the dog just learned that your leave it without a leash means nothing, so they quickly learn, I'm on the leash with this person, I listen, I'm off leash with a person, I don't have to listen because all they can is scream at me. That's it, right? And that's why this is all great, as far as you need only this to be present on the leash. Now, let's talk about, and of course as far as you're present, if you are off the picture and you have pills, grapes and chocolate in the apartment, on the floor, somewhere at the guest house, and you went to a bathroom, and guess what? The dog gonna immediately snick and eat that thing. Why? Because again, dog is sneaking around you because it knows that leave it comes from you, so you are enforcing leave it, and that's why it learns that as far as you're present, I'm not going to do it, but as far as you're not present, I'm definitely going to do it. So what is the solution? Well, it's the ugliest one and the safest one, which is called an e-collar. And this should only be done by professionals. So a balanced trainer in your area, a very good one, can do this. This is usually done for really dangerous stuff like snakes, toads, the ones that are poisonous, right? And what else? And it can be done from like even jumping on the table, which is the case with pills here. It can be even like drugs, right? I have a client now who has weed store, and he's very afraid that his dog gonna eat weed from the floor, so that he would be the candidate for that. So what is e-collar? What is the difference with leash and e-collar? What is the difference? The difference is huge, and actually one of the, I think, the most fascinating examples for you to understand why this is so important and why this works. So back in the days in Africa, the dogs were working dogs, and they were protecting those game reserves from poachers. So the poachers would come at night and poach animals. So the working dogs were supposed to alert, charge them, right, and basically protect the game reserve. But what poachers started to do, they started to bring with them poisonous meat. And as they were, the dog would eat poisonous meat. And there was no way for the owners of those dogs who were protecting the game reserves to make them not to eat meat, because they were all bound to leash, right, and leave it. And again, everything was fine and dandy, but then again, the temptation to eat something nice, something fresh, something new, like as raw meat, that those poachers would bring was too high not to eat it for the dog when they were trained with those methods, right? So the dogs were dying. The dogs kept dying because poachers kept bringing poisonous meat and poisoning the dogs. The only thing that worked and this is the only known thing that works 100%, is they didn't use the e-collar. They actually do it to this day. They train their dogs with electrified bait. They train their dogs with electrified baits. They made it such that the meat or any kind of food, in their case, was electric. The smell, the taste of the meat or any kind of really food was electric. What does that mean? It means that the dog was trying to eat the meat, right? Let's just say they always would feed the dog from the particular bowl. And that's it. And the dog cannot eat from anything else, from the floor, from other bowl, whatever. It cannot take any other food that's from the handler from this bowl. How did they make sure? They would electrify anything else. So they would use electrified baits, and they would stimulate the dog with electricity on a very high level that they became averse to it, and they would never want to touch it ever again. Ever again. And you have to do it only a handful of times, and it's done. Forever. And the dogs stop dying, because they would never ever now take any food other than from their handler. So what is a collar in our case? In our case, it's the same. Wherever we want to have our dog averse to, we will stimulate the dog on a high level of e-collar, and the dog will never do that one thing ever again. Touch a snake. For example, if it's training for the dog not to get bit by the snake and to avoid the snake at all costs, it has to be smell of the snake, of that particular snake, sound of the snake, and sight of the snake. There are special people in Texas that training the dogs to avoid snakes exactly like that. They have the whole business, and they do this professionally, because it's not very easy to do this correctly. And again, I'm not proposing you here at all to go buy an e-collar from Amazon and start doing that. No, you have to know what you're doing. But I just want you to know what options are out there. So, in our case, if the dog would be not allowed to jump at all, for example, let's just say the pills are always on the countertop, right? And we don't want the dog to be taking food or anything really from the countertop, and it's tall enough to do that. That's exactly what we would do. We would stim the dog on a very high level a couple of times, and it would learn that that countertop is electric. I will not touch it again. It's like if you will burn your hand on a very hot stove, you learn that you will never do that again, and so will the dog. It will solve this problem for once and for all. And it will work with you not in the picture. You're not in the picture. You're not who is pressing the button. You're not even there. Usually you're not in the room when this is done, right? Because it's e-collar, so you're somewhere actually hiding usually. So the dog just thinks it's not handler related, like with leash, leave it. It's actually related to the item. So the dog thinks, as far as it's known, let's just say that I don't need to eat this, and I do, and the stimulation is delivered, and I'm like, ouch, oh shit, this thing is electric, and I will never touch it again. I don't think that it's you who delivered this stimulation. So this is how it works, and this is why it works perfect for anything that is dangerous like that, and when we need to take care of our dogs' lives. So this will be I don't even know what to write here actually. I don't know. What would you write? Because there is no command here. right? I'm just gonna put here hot stove example, right? You burn. I'm gonna. Okay, yeah. You burn your hand. You never touched again. All right. And so now, when you got all three options, you don't have to like them. I'm just telling you that they exist, and for certain cases, this is the best way. And I don't like when people hear saying that accidents happen no matter how careful we are. Yes, it's true. It still can happen. Absolutely, things happen. But you, as a responsible owner, can prevent it, especially if you know that your dog does that a lot. It chews a lot, it picks up stuff from the floor, and it's not a puppy and is just happening. It's for you to take care of your dog. You either freaking hide those pills at the very high countertop that your dog cannot reach ever, or you have to consider these other two options. And let's go to the next slide. What other people are saying. Exactly to my point. If we have any medication, it always kept out of reach. Puppies and young dogs are especially curious. I'm very sorry, she was beautiful. This is exactly the right way if you decide to manage your dog instead of going with aversives. Another person, I'm so afraid of my two Shelties getting one of my pills if I should drop one. I take so many. I know how easy it can happen. Or how awful your heart must ache so bad. I wish you peace and comfort. Exactly. So it can happen very easily, and that's why if you're managing, you need to make sure that it's not gonna happen. You don't even take your pills if your dog is around, in case if they, again, my dog, for instance, doesn't pick up stuff from the floor. Why? Because I taught it with leave it command. So as far as I'm around, he's not picking up anything from the floor, not the pill, nothing, not the piece of ham if I drop. I can give it to him from the floor, he will eat it, but he will not eat it by himself if I drop something. So I can take pills around my dog, but if I didn't do that, then I can't take pills around my dog. I will go to another room then, and I will have to take pills there. Next. And here we come to this, why I'm even bringing this up. It's because I'm actually upset with this person. So this is their second post prior to what happened. Let me read it to you. Here's my baby girl, Maggie May. She's very smart but kinda naughty. She eats branches, leaves, wood, and paper. She's 8 months old and I still have her Hill Science Diet Puppy formula. Is she missing something in her diet? Do you see now why this happened? This is so very clear. The dog was not properly taught of anything. She wasn't even managed correctly because she eats branches, leaves, wood, and paper at the age of 8 months. No, you don't let them eat all that shit. You take it out of their mouth. Because if you don't, then you're not managing, you're just letting them be. And that's not right. And that's why what happened, happened. This is as simple as that. And this person doesn't have any freaking knowledge at all because it's doesn't even know that the puppies do that. And again, at 8 months old, it's not even a puppy, it's just the dog is not trained not to eat shit. And it's the owner is thinking that it's some formula problem. It's not. Again, if you're going completely like positive only force-free route and you're just managing, well, don't blame the fucking diet. I'm sorry. It's not the diet, it's your training choice. And if that's your training choice, nothing wrong with it, but you have to keep an eye on your dog 24/7 if they're doing those things. Now, next, what people are saying to this person. I'm gonna make it bigger. My first girl never chewed anything or did any puppy stuff. If she peed on the floor 3 times, it was a lot. She just was perfect. I thought something was wrong with her when I first got her. Exactly. Not every dog gonna do this. That's totally fine. Most of the puppies will eat crap from the floor, but not every dog, which is fine. My second girl, photo below, girl chewed a hole in my wall, peeled paint off my door jambs, ate sticks, leave stone socks. Well, she didn't eat them but chewed them. By the way, if your dog gonna eat sock, the likelihood of very expensive surgery with your vet, believe me, is very high. It's gonna be $5,000 to do that surgery to remove that sock out of their belly. Yep, she was like that too, but once she got a little older, she no longer chews anything. Took about 14 months, I think maybe a year and a half. Since then, I have filled the hole. And I talked about that. If you manage and your dog survives your managing phase, then the behavior can go extinct. And I think we should actually write that. But it's a maybe, because I went like on a rant about this in the previous video. If you're interested, check it out. But basically, not every behavior goes extinct, because sometimes it's self-rewarding, and if it becomes very self-rewarding, then the dog does not stop doing that, even out of their puppyhood. So back to the comments, and here it is. And here it is to my, I'm gonna turn off my sound, sorry. And here it is to my point. He does chew up things he finds on floor from cat, but mainly just his toys. But she's the good one as far as when told no. My boy thinks exactly, when told no. Okay? When told no, and that's why, going back to iPad half, scene, here it is, leave it, or no. Right? This is the same. As far as she's present, she can say no. It doesn't sometimes have to be a pop on the leash to charge leave it command. Sometimes can be just your high volume of your voice. People don't know that that's actually aversive too, and a lot of dogs are aversive to our loud voices, like leave it, like this, or no, like that's very bad actually also. And just because you're not using prong collar or e-collar doesn't mean that you don't use aversives if you're screaming at your dog, or you're putting them in a timeout, or you removing your praise. There are so many aversives that people don't realize they are aversive. And what is aversive? By the way, it's what the dog finds aversive. It's not for us to decide what is aversive to the dog. So we go back to these comments, and we're gonna go next. Jolie is 8 months, and her favorite things to chew are stick, socks, the gutter, and whatever it is that her older husky sister has. My 7-month-old loves to eat things too. I put all her toys in her basket a couple times a day, and she pulls them out one by one. So this dog again has everything accessible, so she can tear them up, and also ingest some things here as well. I'm sure we're going to be reading something about this soon as well. And the last comment here, I think, I'm going to size it. What does it say here? Nope, mine is 18 months and tries to eat all those things too, and she's on science diet. It's just what puppies and dogs do. See, it's again 18 months old. It's not fucking puppy. It's not. It's not 4 months old or something. It's 18 months old and 1 year and what? And a half or something? It's crazy. Just watch her that she doesn't eat sticks. Exactly, thank you. At least somebody with some sense of mind here. She could harm herself internally. By the way, she's gorgeous. Yes, she can harm herself internally, and she fucking did. And we go back to this post, and I'm gonna read it to you again. Today I lost my Maggie Mare to an accidental drug intake. They are so smart. She jumped on a recliner, stood on a table, and reached over to get my husband's medication. So smart, and my heart is broken. It's the same thing that if you would have a loaded gun in your house and you would have a little boy that was never around guns and doesn't know what they are, and you would put it on the table where he doesn't necessarily go but can reach, and you leave that loaded gun on the table, and you come back home and your little boy blew his brains out with that gun, are you gonna write the post and say that he was so smart? Or maybe you should say, it was my fault. It's not about the little boy being so smart by blowing his brain out with the gun that you left there loaded. It's not about the dog being so smart and jumping on the recliner and eating the medication of your husband. This is such a wrong framing to this, and everybody saying to this person, and I just screenshotted a couple of them, but there are so many comments, and everybody is saying for her not to blame herself because those accidents happen all the time. Well, they do, but you are the reason those accidents happen, because you didn't train your dog. If you train your dog and you took all the precautions and you really was on top of this, then maybe it's not your fault. But if you didn't do any of this, you didn't educate yourself what options are out there, and even though if those two options are not for you, it's totally fine. If they're not for you and you don't feel comfortable executing them, right? And you think they're bad, right? You think they're bad, you still can manage your dog. Like some people saying, hey, you have to manage your dog 24/7. Sticks are not good for them to eat. They can damage them internally. And this is just exactly what happens. It doesn't happen with every dog, but it can happen with your dog if you don't watch out. If you don't educate yourself for all the options available. And I just think it's not fair to the dog for you not to take responsibility of bringing this dog in our human world and expecting it to survive without your help. And I'm going to leave it at that. Think about it, leave me a comment, and yeah, I think this is crazy and people need to talk about it, and being unresponsible owner is not cool, and converting something and saying like, oh, she was so smart, instead of taking responsibility and saying it was my fault, I left the meds, I didn't watch my dog, I didn't train my dog. Not cool. Not cool. I feel sorry for the dog. The dog died. The dog didn't have to die if the person would educate themselves and take responsibility.